The great hall of the Virex Empire was filled with light and noise. Thousands of alien nobles stood in long lines, their armor shining, their eyes cold. Today was a day of judgment. At the center of the hall stood a single human, small, weak, and alone. Compared to the massive alien bodies around him, he looked like a mistake that should not exist. The human's name was Elias. He was not a soldier, not a hero, just a hired technician who had been brought here after a border accident. High above everyone else sat Baron Cortex, ruler of 3 star systems. His voice echoed through the hall like thunder. "Humans are a fragile species," the Baron said. His words translated into simple sound for all to hear. They break easily, they think slowly, and they serve better as tools than equals. Laughter spread across the hall. Alien nobles clicked their jaws and struck the floor with their tails. Enjoying the show, Elias stood still, his hands tied, his face calm. He had learned long ago that anger only fed monsters like these. The Baron leaned forward, his many eyes locking onto the human. "You crossed Imperial space without permission," he said. "The law demands punishment, but today, I am feeling generous." The nobles grew quiet, curiosity replacing laughter. "I will give you a gift," the Baron continued, his tone playful. "A gift that suits your weak kind." At a signal from his claw, guards dragged something forward. A floating chair made of dark metal, and in it sat a young alien girl. Her body was still, her limbs thin, her head supported by soft restraints. Her eyes were open, wide and aware, but her body did not respond. A wave of discomfort moved through the hall. Some nobles turned away, others watched with cruel interest. "My daughter," Baron Cortex announced, smiling, born broken, unable to move, unable to serve. "A useless weight on my bloodline." The word useless echoed like a blade. Elias lifted his head. His eyes met the girl's eyes for a brief moment, and something inside him tightened. "I give her to you," the Baron said, laughing softly. "Take her, feed her, carry her. Let her remind you what weakness looks like." The hall exploded with laughter again. This time louder, harsher. Elias felt the heat rise in his chest. Not anger, but something deeper, something human. He stepped forward, chains clinking, and looked up at the Baron. "She is not a joke," he said quietly. The laughter slowed, confused murmurs spread. The Baron blinked, then laughed again, louder than before. "You dare speak," he said. "You humans truly do not know your place." Elias did not look away. Instead, he turned back to the girl. Her eyes were focused on him now. Sharp, intelligent, afraid. Everyone else saw a burden. A punishment, a living insult. Elias saw a person. "I accept," Elias said. His voice steady. The hall fell silent. The Baron raised an eyebrow, surprised. "You accept the gift?" he asked. "Yes," Elias replied. "I accept her." More laughter followed. But this time it sounded uneasy. "Very well," the Baron said, waving his claw. "She is yours. Take your broken prize and leave my sight." The guards released the chair. It floated toward Elias, stopping just in front of him. Elias hesitated only a moment, then placed his bound hands gently on the side of the chair. "Hello," he said softly to the girl. "My name is Elias." Her eyes moved slightly, just enough for him to notice. The guards unlocked his restraints and pushed him toward the exit. No one stopped him, no one cared. As Elias walked through the massive doors, the laughter followed him. But he did not turn back outside the hall. The air was cold and thin. The alien city stretched endlessly. Metal towers and moving lights filled the horizon. Elias guided the floating chair carefully, his movements slow, respectful. He did not know her name, her species, or her condition. But he knew one thing. She had been abandoned. They reached a small transport pod assigned to him, basic, old, barely functional. Elias secured the chair inside and sat across from her. For the first time since the court, silence surrounded them. "I do not know why they did that to you," Elias said gently. "But I promise you something." Her eyes stayed on him. Unblinking, listening. "I will not laugh at you," he continued. "I will not treat you like a thing." The transport lifted into the sky, carrying them away from the palace, away from the laughter, as the city shrank behind them. Elias noticed something strange. The girl's eyes were not empty, not dull. They were calculating, observing, alive. A faint glow flickered behind them for just a moment, so quick Elias almost missed it. He leaned forward, his heart beating faster. "Did you see that?" he whispered to himself. The girl blinked once, slowly. In that small movement, Elias felt it. A truth the aliens had ignored. This girl was not broken. She was locked, and somewhere deep inside her, something powerful was waiting to wake up. The transport pod moved quietly through space, its engines low and tired. Elias sat still across from the alien girl, watching her carefully. The light inside the pod was soft and dim. Shadows moved across the metal walls. Outside, the window stars passed like slow white sparks. The girl did not move. Her body remained still just like before. But her eyes were different now. They followed the movement of the stars, then returned to Elias. Most beings would have looked away. Uncomfortable, unsure what to say, Elias did not. He had worked with damaged machines, silent systems, forgotten tools. And he knew one thing very well. Silence did not mean emptiness. "My place is not much," Elias said gently, his voice calm and steady. "But it is safe." The girl blinked once. Very slowly, Elias noticed it again. That blink was not random. It came after his words. The pod landed on the far edge of the city, far from the palace towers and noble districts. This area was quiet, old, and ignored. Elias guided the floating chair down the ramp. The ground beneath them was rough metal, worn by time. This place was once used for workers and servants. Now it was mostly empty. They entered a small living unit. One room, simple walls, basic lights, a single sleeping platform, and a work table filled with tools. Elias parked the chair near the center of the room and stepped back, giving her space. "You can rest here," he said, even though he knew she could not move. "No one will bother you." The girl's eyes moved again, slowly scanning the room, taking everything in. Elias felt a strange pressure in his chest, a mix of sadness and anger, not at her, but at the ones who had thrown her away. He moved to the table and activated a small medical scanner. Old human tech, patched together with alien parts. "Let me check something," he said. "If that is okay." He did not expect an answer, but he waited anyway, after a moment. The girl blinked once more. Elias took that as permission. He carefully scanned her body. The device hummed softly. Lines of data appeared in the air. The results confused him. Her body showed no damage, no decay, no failure. Her muscles were intact. Her nerves were present. Her brain activity was high, very high. "This makes no sense," Elias whispered. According to the scan, she should be able to move. She should be able to speak. Yet she did not. Elias leaned closer, lowering his voice. "They told everyone you were broken," he said. "But you are not." Her eyes widened just a little. That reaction confirmed it. She understood him. Elias sat down on the floor in front of her, putting himself at her eye level. "My name is Elias," he said again, slowly. "I am human." He placed his hand on his chest, then gently pointed toward her. "What is your name?" She did not speak, but her eyes moved left, then right, then left again. Elias frowned, thinking, "You cannot talk," he said softly. "But you can think." He picked up a small light tool from the table and turned it on. A thin beam appeared. "Follow the light if you understand me," he said, moving it slowly. Her eyes followed it perfectly. No delay, no confusion. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. "You are fully aware," he said, his voice low. At that moment, the lights in the room flickered. Just for a second, Elias froze, then looked around. The power system was unstable. But this flicker felt different. The girl's eyes glowed faintly again. The same glow he had seen in the transport. Stronger this time, Elias stood up slowly, his heart beating faster. "What did you just do?" he asked. The glow faded. The lights returned to normal. Silence filled the room again, thick and heavy. Elias checked the power logs. Something had pulled energy from the system. A lot of energy. He turned back to her, his mind racing. "You did that," he said, not accusing, just amazed. Her eyes blinked once, firm and clear. Elias laughed quietly, not in mockery, but in disbelief. "They called you useless," he said, shaking his head. They were wrong. Outside the unit, distant alarms echoed through the city, faint but real. Elias moved to the window and looked out. Small lights were flashing far away. Security drones were moving, searching. "They are already feeling it," he murmured. He returned to the girl and lowered his voice again. "Listen to me," he said. "They do not understand you. They are afraid of things they cannot control." Her eyes stayed locked on him, trusting, waiting. "I think something inside you is locked," Elias continued. "Not broken, locked on purpose." The idea made his stomach tighten. "Your own people did this to you," he said. "Because they were scared." The girl's eyes trembled, moisture forming at the edges. But no tears fell. Elias felt anger rise again, sharp and focused. "I will not let them use you," he said firmly. "I will not give you back." At that moment, a low hum filled the room. The walls vibrated slightly. Elias looked at the scanner again. New readings appeared. Energy levels around the girl were increasing. Her glow returned, brighter now, spreading faint lines of light into the air. Elias stepped back, awe and fear mixing in his chest. "Easy," he said softly, raising his hands. "You are safe here." The energy stabilized. The hum faded. Outside, the alarms grew louder, closer. Elias knew then. This was only the beginning. The Baron's joke had created something dangerous, something powerful, something the galaxy was not ready for. And the one being who saw her as a person, not a weapon, was a human. The alarms outside did not stop. They grew louder with every passing minute, distant at first, then closer. Like a warning, the city itself was waking up. Elias stood near the door, listening carefully, his body tense, his mind moving fast. Security patrols did not come to this sector without reason. He looked back at the girl. Her eyes were calm now, the glow gone. But something had changed. The air around her felt heavy, charged. "They are searching," Elias said quietly. "I do not think they know it is you." "Not yet." The girl's eyes moved to the door. Then back to Elias. She understood danger. Elias moved quickly to his work table and pulled out an old human data pad. Its screen cracked, its power low. "I need to understand you," he said, more to himself than to her. "And I need to do it fast." He activated the medical scanner again, this time focusing on her brain patterns. Streams of data filled the air, complex and unstable. Elias's breath slowed as he read. Her brain activity was not just high. It was layered, multiple processes running at once, far beyond normal alien limits. "This is not an illness," Elias whispered. "This is a system." He remembered old human history. Early experiments, stories of gifted minds. Children who processed the world differently. Humans had feared them too, once. Elias felt a bitter smile touch his face. Different species, same fear. He adjusted the scanner and noticed something hidden. A deep signal, artificial, wrapped tightly around her neural core. A lock, he said softly. They put a lock inside you. The girl's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, but in pain. Elias clenched his jaw, his hands shaking. They were afraid of what you could become, outside. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridor. Metal against metal, closer now. Elias turned off the main lights and dimmed the room. Shadows filled the space. "Stay calm," he whispered. "They cannot sense you if you do not react." The girl's eyes flicked toward the walls, then slowly closed for the first time. The pressure in the air faded slightly. The energy readings dropped. Elias let out a breath he did not know he was holding. The footsteps stopped outside the unit. Voices murmured in alien tones. Scanners swept the corridor. Elias stood completely still, his heart pounding after a long moment. The voices moved on. The footsteps faded. Elias lowered himself onto the floor again. Exhausted. "That was close," he said quietly. He looked at her face, peaceful now, eyes closed. But he knew she was not sleeping. She was controlling herself. "You did that," he said, impressed. "You can hide your energy." Her eyes opened slowly. A soft blink. Elias smiled, genuine this time. "I think I know what they feared," he said. "You are not just strong. You are precise." He stood and began pulling parts from his shelves. Wires, old human sensors, alien connectors. "If the lock is artificial," he continued, "then it can be studied." The room filled with quiet sounds as he worked, connecting tools, testing signals. Hours passed unnoticed. Outside, the alarms slowly faded. The city returning to uneasy calm. Elias finally activated a small interface and placed it near her head. "This will not hurt," he said gently. "It will only listen," the device hummed softly. Light symbols appeared suddenly. The room temperature dropped. The air vibrated again. Stronger than before, Elias stumbled back, barely keeping his balance. The girl's eyes flew open, glowing bright now. Light spilling into the room, lines forming across the walls like living patterns. "Easy," Elias said urgently. "I am not trying to open it yet." The energy surged, then stopped, frozen in place. Elias stared in shock. She was holding it back, consciously, slowly. One finger on her right hand twitched, just a little, but enough. Elias's eyes widened, his breath caught. "You moved," he whispered. The finger twitched again, then stopped. The glow faded. The room returned to normal. Elias fell to his knees, overwhelmed. "They were wrong," he said, his voice breaking. "They were so wrong." He looked up at her, tears forming in his eyes. "You are not a burden," he said. "You are not a mistake." Her eyes softened. And for the first time, something like relief passed through them. Outside, far above the city, a signal reached the Baron's palace. Unusual energy readings. Confirmed. Source unknown. Baron Corthax stared at the report in silence, his smile gone, his claws tightening. "The human," he growled, back in the small living unit. Elias did not know this yet, but he felt it, deep in his bones. They had crossed a line, and soon. The entire galaxy would notice. The next cycle began in silence. Not the calm kind, but the kind that felt watched. Elias barely slept. He sat near the girl, eyes open, tools untouched, listening to every sound from the corridor. The city outside looked normal again, but he knew better. Systems like this did not calm down without reason. The girl lay still in her chair, her breathing slow, controlled, her eyes open, alert. "You feel it too," Elias said quietly. "They are looking for you." Her eyes shifted once, a careful movement. Elias activated his datapad and brought up the energy logs from the night before. The numbers did not make sense. The surge had not come from her body alone. It had come from everywhere around her, as if space itself had responded. "That means you are not just producing energy," Elias murmured. "You are commanding it." A chill ran through him. Alien science believed energy was harvested, forced, controlled by machines. Humans had learned long ago that some forces responded better to understanding than force. Elias adjusted the scanner again, deeper this time, ignoring the warning signs flashing on the screen. As the scan reached her neural core, the lock revealed itself clearly. A dense lattice of alien code wrapped around her mind. It was not medical, not protective. It was a cage. Elias clenched his fists. They did this on purpose. The girl's eyes darkened slightly. Memories surfacing, pain held in silence. "I think," Elias continued slowly, choosing his words, "your paralysis is not failure. It is containment." The room hummed softly. Reacting to his words, Elias swallowed. "They were afraid you would grow." At that moment, the scanner picked up something new. Another layer beneath the lock, older, natural, elegant. Her brain structure was evolving, adapting, building pathways faster than any species Elias had ever seen. "She was born different," he whispered. "Not broken." The lights flickered again, longer this time. The walls vibrated. Elias moved closer to her, lowering his voice. "Do you trust me?" Her eyes locked onto his, steady, unafraid. She blinked once. Slowly, deliberately. "Yes," Elias breathed. He pulled out a small human device, simple, old, designed for neural feedback therapy. "This will not unlock you," he said. "It will only let us listen together," as he placed it near her temple. The air thickened, pressure building like a storm. Outside, drones passed overhead, their shadows sliding across the walls. Elias froze, then continued anyway. The device activated, and suddenly Elias saw it. A vast internal space, patterns of light, moving structures, layers of thought folding into each other. Her mind was not chaotic. It was organized, vast, controlled. At the center stood the lock, artificial and crude, struggling to hold back something far greater. Elias staggered back, gasping, his head pounding. "You are holding back a star," he whispered. The girl's glow returned, not wild, but focused. Thin lines of light forming symbols in the air. For the first time, Elias noticed something else. The symbols were changing, adapting, learning from him. "She is learning how to communicate," he realized. A low warning tone sounded from the pad. External scan detected. Elias turned sharply to the window. Several security drones hovered nearby, scanning the sector carefully. "They are narrowing it down," he said urgently. The girl's eyes widened. The glow intensified. The room shook. "No," Elias said quickly, stepping forward. "Not yet. If you release it now, they will know for sure." The energy paused, suspended in the air like a held breath. Slowly, the glow dimmed. The room stabilized. Elias exhaled, sweat running down his face. "You have control," he said in awe. "Even locked, you have control." Far away, in the Baron's palace, Korvac stood before a massive display. The readings were undeniable now, a rare signature, one he had seen only once before, at her birth. His claws dug into the stone floor. "She is awake," he growled. Back in the living unit, Elias made a decision. "If they come," he said firmly, "we do not run." The girl looked at him, questioning. "We prepare," Elias continued. "Because once they realize what truly are," he met her gaze, serious, steady, human, "they will never stop hunting you." The days that followed were quiet on the surface. but tension built like a storm ready to break. Elias worked tirelessly, studying the girl, the alien lock, and the strange energy she emitted. Every tool, every sensor, every old human trick was tested, refined, repurposed. The girl remained still in her floating chair. But Elias noticed subtle changes each day. Tiny movements of her fingers, slight shifts of her eyes, the faintest responses to his voice. It was as if she was awakening, learning, and waiting for the right moment. One morning, the city outside changed its rhythm, a new hum vibrating through the streets. Elias looked up from his scanner, tension rising in his chest. "The Baron's forces," he whispered. "They are close." The girl's eyes widened slightly, alert but calm, as if she understood the danger before it arrived. He ran to the window and saw the first patrol drones approaching. Sleek, metallic, their sensors scanning the area. "They are testing the perimeter," he said, "checking if the anomaly is here." The girl's glow flickered faintly, responding to the presence. A warning signal, Elias realized. He grabbed a portable energy disruptor, a human invention disguised as a simple tool, and prepared for the worst. The drones circled the building, lights scanning, shadows moving across the walls. Then one drone descended directly toward the living unit, its metal frame humming loudly, scanners active, searching, probing. Elias steadied himself, his hand hovering over the disruptor. But before he could act, the girl's eyes glowed fiercely. A wave of energy shot out from her chair, invisible but powerful, and the drone shuddered, sparks flying from its circuits. Then it fell silently to the ground. Completely shut down, Elias's heart raced. He could not believe what he had just seen. "She did that," he whispered, awe and fear mixing in his voice. The other drones paused, confused, their sensors unable to interpret what had happened. Elias realized the truth in that moment. She was not just powerful, she was evolving. Her control over energy was precise, intentional, far beyond anything he had imagined. Suddenly, a loud alarm echoed from the building. External security systems had detected the disruption. Elias glanced at the girl, her eyes now calm, her energy contained. "They know," he said, his voice low. "The Baron knows." And at that moment, he understood the stakes. This was no longer about survival or study. This was about war, about a galaxy that had underestimated a human child and her hidden strength. Hours passed, each minute heavier than the last, until finally a massive shadow fell over the unit. Blocking the faint light from the sky, Elias looked outside and froze. A massive dropship hovered above the building, its engines roaring, massive weapons arrays bristling along its sides. Baron Corthax himself had arrived. Commanding the fleet personally, Elias turned back to the girl, whose eyes glowed with anticipation. Anticipation not of fear, but of confrontation. "They are here for you," he said softly, almost in awe. "And you are ready." The dropship's doors opened, and elite soldiers descended, armored and armed with advanced weapons. Their movements precise, coordinated, unrelenting. Elias grabbed a few tools and hid in the shadows. But the girl remained visible in her chair. Calm, observing, the first soldier approached her. Scanning, his weapon raised, the girl's eyes glowed fiercely. Energy flaring around her, an invisible barrier forming, repelling the soldier backward with a force that left him stunned on the floor. The others hesitated, fear spreading among them. Hesitation in a force trained to obey without question. Elias watched in disbelief as the girl slowly raised one hand, and every weapon, every scanner, every drone in the immediate area shut down simultaneously. The soldiers froze, their systems failing, their control taken away. Elias realized then, she was not just defending herself. She was dominating the battlefield without moving a muscle. Without firing a shot, the Baron's voice echoed through a communicator. Calm, but laced with anger. "Elias," he said, "return my daughter, and I may spare your species further humiliation." Elias looked at her, her eyes glowing steadily, focused, aware. He shook his head, resolute. "She is not yours," he said firmly. "She never was." A silence fell, broken only by the hum of the girl's energy, the air thick with tension, charged like a storm. Then, with a sudden burst, the girl's power expanded, waves of invisible force rippling outward. Alarms blared, soldiers screamed, and for the first time, Elias saw the full scale of her potential. She was not a child, not a tool, not a burden. She was a weapon, a mind, a force no one could contain. And the Baron, the great ruler of 3 star systems, had just realized his greatest mistake. The human who had been given a gift as a joke now held the galaxy's most dangerous secret in his hands. And the girl, silent, glowing, and aware, was about to prove that weakness was the illusion, and power had always been hers. The galaxy had never seen anything like this, and it would never forget it. Elias and the girl watched from the edge of the city as the Baron's forces regrouped, massive warships hovering in the sky, their weapons trained, their sensors scanning, searching for the source of the anomaly. The girl floated silently in her chair, her energy barely contained, glowing faintly under the dim lights of the ruined building. Elias studied her carefully. Every movement, every blink, every shift of her eyes told him more than any scanner ever could. "You are ready," he whispered. "If they come, we do not hide." Her eyes flickered, a faint glow responding. Anticipation and understanding clear. He knew then that the moment of truth had arrived. A communication signal broke through the tension, the Baron's deep voice booming through the city's frequencies. "Human," he said, calm but with an edge of anger that could cut steel. "Return her now, and you may live. Refuse, and witness the full strength of my empire." Elias shook his head. Resolute. "She is not yours," he replied simply, his voice carrying across the city, fearless, human, unwavering. The Baron laughed, low and dangerous. "You dare defy me, weak species? You'll regret this." Outside, the first wave of troops descended, moving like living shadows, weapons bristling, scanning the ruins, ready to strike. Elias braced himself, but the girl raised her hand. Not trembling, not panicked, not afraid. Energy flared around her, invisible waves expanding, bending the light and air, and suddenly, the first wave of soldiers froze, their weapons locked in place. Their movements halted as if reality itself obeyed her command. Elias watched in awe and fear as she controlled the battlefield without moving from her chair. The Baron's warships above reacted, energy beams firing blindly, only to be deflected, redirected, dissipated in the air like mist, the human's old techniques, combined with her alien energy control, made her unstoppable, unpredictable, perfect. Elias realized something he had suspected but never fully believed. She was not just powerful, she was intelligent, adaptive, learning from every move, every strike, every attempt to control her. The Baron's voice cut through the chaos again. Anger now pure and raw. "Do not test me, human. This child is my legacy, my line. She belongs to me." Elias stood firm. "She belongs to herself," he said. And in that moment, his voice carried a weight the galaxy had never heard from a human. The girl's energy surged, her glow intensifying, and with one slow, deliberate motion of her hand, the remaining forces collapsed, one by one, like dominoes falling in perfect sequence. The Baron watched in disbelief from the bridge of his flagship, his face pale, his eyes wide. clawed hands gripping the console as his empire failed to contain what he had once thought was weak. Elias looked at the girl, her eyes meeting his, glowing fiercely. "They called you useless," he said quietly. "But look at them now." She blinked once. Slowly, and Elias could feel the intelligence, the awareness, the power flowing between them. A silent understanding, a partnership forged not by blood, but by choice outside. The galaxy seemed to pause. Fleets holding their positions, worlds waiting, sensing the change. The Baron's empire, once unshakable, faltered. Confused, afraid, for the first time. Humans were not tools, not weak, not irrelevant. They had a mind that could see beyond alien science, a heart that could respect intelligence, and now, with the girl's hidden power, a force that could challenge the stars. The Baron's communicator crackled, his voice breaking slightly. "This is impossible." Elias smiled faintly. "Nothing is impossible," he said. "Not for those who believe in what is human." The girl's energy pulsed once more, and the Baron's forces retreated, their systems unable to cope, their pride shattered. For the first time in galactic history, humanity had changed the balance of power. Not with weapons, not with armies, but with understanding, courage, and recognition of true potential. Elias turned to the girl, still glowing faintly, still in control, and whispered, "They will come again, stronger, smarter. But we are ready." Her eyes blinked slowly. A single wordless promise. Together they would survive, and together they would show the galaxy that weakness is an illusion, and power belongs to those who know how to use it. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Baron understood, with a cold, sinking certainty, that the joke he had made would become his greatest defeat. The galaxy would remember this day, not for weapons or wars, but for a human who saw potential where everyone else saw weakness, and for a girl who refused to be broken, who had waited, learned, and now, finally, was free. The galaxy was still trembling from the events of the past hours, yet in the quiet of their hidden unit, Elias and the girl whose name he still did not know prepared for what came next. The Baron would not forget. His pride would not allow it. And his fleets would return, stronger, smarter, more ruthless. Elias looked at the girl floating silently, energy flickering faintly around her. "You are ready," he whispered, though not a question, more a confirmation. "And so am I." Her eyes glowed faintly, and for the first time, Elias felt something beyond awe and fear, a bond, unspoken, unbroken. Forged in the chaos they had survived together. Outside, the Baron's flagship loomed like a black shadow on the horizon. The galaxy-wide sensors now focused entirely on their location. The Baron's voice echoed through the communication channels. Low, dangerous, yet tinged with uncertainty. "Return my daughter, human, and your species may survive this." Elias shook his head. Calm, unwavering. "She is not yours," he said firmly. And she never was. The girl's eyes glowed brighter, responding, energy thrumming softly, controlled, deliberate. Elias activated the scanners once more, watching her patterns, her neural pathways, the locks fading slowly under his guidance. The girl had evolved beyond the Baron's control, beyond the expectations of her own species, beyond the limits anyone had placed on her. A small smile touched Elias's lips, though his heart still raced. "It's time to decide," he said quietly. "What will you do now?" For a moment, silence filled the room, heavier than any alarm, thicker than the tension outside. Then, slowly, the girl lifted one hand, and energy spiraled outward, forming a dome of protection around them, invisible but tangible, shielding them from sensors, weapons, and even the Baron's distant attempts to probe her mind. Elias realized she was not just defending. She was asserting control over reality itself in subtle ways, bending it to her will without fear, without hesitation, outside. The Baron's forces began to hesitate, their weapons faltering, sensors confused by the girl's unseen power. The Baron's voice broke through again, sharp now. This is impossible. You are mine. You will obey. Elias stepped forward, calm, fearless, human. No one owns anyone, he said, and you are about to learn that the galaxy has changed. The girl's glow intensified. Symbols of alien light forming in the air. Patterns that no one could read, but Elias could feel, as if she were speaking to him alone, telling him what she understood, what she intended, what she could become. And then, with one deliberate motion, the energy expanded outward in a controlled pulse, temporarily disabling every weapon, every system, every fleet the Baron had within range. Ships tumbled through space, systems short-circuiting, and for the first time, the Baron's pride faltered, his empire faltering under the hands of a human and a girl he had considered broken. Elias turned to her, mixing with relief. You are free, he said simply. She blinked once, slowly, deliberately, then tilted her head slightly, acknowledging him, not as a child to an adult, not as a tool to a master, but as a partner, equal, intelligent, unstoppable. The Baron's fleet retreated, their pride and power shattered, their fear undeniable. Elias knew they would return. But for now, the battle was over. The scales of power had shifted, and the galaxy would remember this day. The girl floated toward him, energy dimming slightly, a faint smile on her lips, as if she finally understood what freedom meant. Elias reached out, touching the side of her chair gently. You can choose now, he said. Your path, your destiny. Your life, she considered him. Her glowing eyes steady, then slowly, deliberately. She floated out of the chair for the first time, her legs moving, unassisted. Her body free at last. Elias's heart raced. He could barely believe it. You did it, he whispered. Awe in every syllable. She looked at him, then at the galaxy beyond the window, and made her choice, a silent but clear decision. She would not return to the Baron, would not serve his empire, would not bow to fear. Instead, she chose a new path, one forged with the human who had seen her true potential when no one else did. Elias smiled, softly, quietly. Then we move forward together, he said, his voice full of hope, full of promise, full of human determination. Outside, the galaxy shifted in ways no one could predict. Power balances overturned, old fears replaced with awe, respect, and curiosity. And in a small room on a quiet edge of the city, a human and a girl, once thought weak, once thought broken, now held the future in their hands. The joke that the Baron had made had become the greatest mistake of his life. And for the first time, Elias understood something profound, something he had never known before. Weakness is an illusion. Potential is everything. And humanity, in its simplest, most basic form, had just reminded the galaxy what true strength looked like. The girl's glow dimmed into a steady, calm light, no longer a weapon, but a promise. A promise that the galaxy would never underestimate the power of the mind, the heart, or the human spirit again. And together, human and alien, teacher and student, companion and equal, they turned toward the stars, ready to face whatever the galaxy could throw at them. Not as weak, not as broken, but as unstoppable.